Greetings, everyone. This is Matt Fiello. I'm a technical marketing engineer with the Cisco Cloud Networking and Compute Group. And today we're back talking about LAN and SAN connectivity policies. Now, this video is actually a remake of one I did a couple years ago, back when Intersight Managed Mode, IMM, was new. So I hope to provide a lot more detail in this video. And I hope it's worthwhile to not only novices, but also experts alike. And with that, let's move on to the agenda. Okay, so let's briefly discuss our agenda for today's video. We're going to have 4 use cases, and each one of these use cases I'm going to present a few bullets for information, and then we're going to show you a live demonstration. So our first use case is just a LAN connectivity policy using the basic auto vNIC placement. Our second use case is a LAN connectivity policy using manual vNIC configuration, but with simple placement. Our third use case is creating LAN and SAN connectivity policies using manual configurations with advanced placement. And then finally, our fourth use case is kind of repeating use case number 3, but instead of assigning to a single VIC, we're going to have a dual VIC scenario. So I'm going to spread things across both VICs. Okay, our first use case is using auto vNIC placement in our LAN connectivity policy. Again, this is the most basic, the most simple way to do it. The only decision you make is what fabric to put the vNIC on, fabric A or fabric B. It's great for single adapter use cases and servers where you don't really care about the PCI order. Do know that the vNICs will take PCI preference over the VHBAs. If more than one adapter is being used with this placement option, you know, you have the 1440 and 1480 as an example. The adapter PCIe devices are spread across both adapters, but that order might not necessarily reflect what you ultimately desire. And then if you choose the auto vNIC placement for a LAN connectivity policy, and you're deciding to use a SAN connectivity policy, you have to use auto vNIC placement for the SAN. Okay, so both the methodologies have to match on a given template, and just know that. So let's move on to the demo. Okay, let's proceed with the demonstration for use case number 1. We're doing just a simple LAN connectivity policy with auto vNIC placement. So we're going to create policy. We'll filter down to server and then LAN connectivity policy. Got to give it a unique name, if I can spell. Select in UCS server if I attached. Then for our vNIC configuration, notice by default manual is selected here. We actually want to select auto, and now we're going to add our vNICs. And I'm only going to add a couple vNICs. vNIC 0, I like using even numbers for A fabric, odd numbers for B fabric. That's just my personal convention I've always used and done, but you may do something different. We have to add our policies here. You'll have different Ethernet network group policies because that's your VLANs you're attaching to those vNICs. You'll probably have different ones. I've got the same policy for the purposes of the video here. And the search here does help you find your policies. I use a naming convention. It's easy for me to search on. Okay, so we're going to click Add. And we've got our vNIC 0. I like creating HA pairs, so I'll have a vNIC 1, odd number, which means it'll go on the B fabric. And we have to add our policies again. click Add. All right, so we have our vNIC pair here on the A fabric and B fabric. Let's click Create. Okay, so now we're going to go to our server profile. And I've created a filtered list here of the ones I'm using. This is a standalone server profile for purposes of the demo. So I'm going to edit this guy. You do have to click through this workflow. We have gotten some feedback from customers that'd like to be able to go to things a little quicker without stepping through. So we're going to take a look at that. But right now you'll have to step through. And there's our policy. Click to attach. Not deploy changes. We can go ahead and deploy right now since I just attached a policy. All right, let's click active requests. This will take about 1.5 minutes, so I'll speed through this. Okay, you can see we're validating the LAN connectivity policy. Okay, we're green good on that. Getting ready to deploy the LAN connectivity policy as part of the workflow. There it is. Successfully deployed. Now we'll just wait for the completion of the service profile. Server profile. This is IMM, Intersight, so we say server profile. Service was the older UCS Manager, UCS Central. Okay, so we've got a completion there. Let's go ahead and go up to the Servers tab here. And I'll go over to my filtered list. And there's that server. And let's go to the Server Profile tab. And then Connectivity. Okay, and you can see that we've got our two vNICs deployed. Here's a situation here. You know, if you want your PCI order to be 0 for vNIC 0 and 1 for vNIC 1, you're really going to have to do a manual placement configuration because the software will just randomly pick. So this could change. I could do this again and vNIC 0 would be 0. So if that matters to you, then just do manual, and you'll see that in the upcoming demonstrations. It auto-picked the MLOM. That's the single card I had on there. So I had nothing to do with this right here. The software, the system chose that. I will say if you add VHBAs with the auto placement, the VHBAs will be tacked on after the vNICs as far as PCI order. So if I had two VHBAs, VHBA A, 0 and VHBA 1, that would be PCI order 2 and 3 respectively. And also, of course, if you do simple, if you do auto vNIC placement for the LAN connectivity policy, you have to do auto vNIC placement for a SAN connectivity policy. If you did manual, then you have to do manual. So the LAN and the SAN have to match from a policy type, okay, either manual or auto. Okay, and with that, that completes the first demonstration. Let's move on to the second use case. Okay, for use case number 2, we're going to do a manual vNIC configuration with a LAN connectivity policy and using simple placement. So with manual, you must select the PCI order. You must dictate that, and it must start with 0, and it increments from there. And you can't skip numbers and orders. It starts with 0 and then increments, so it's contiguous. And it's also, the numbering is per adapter. So you have more than one adapters, then you have the PCI order on each of those adapters. it also needs to be honored across the LAN and SAN connectivity policies. So even though you're building those policies differently, different policies, the order, it's one order on a given adapter. Okay. The simple placement option allows the system to determine the slot ID and PCI link. So the slot ID is the actual adapter, okay, emblem, for example, or slot ID 1, which would be an additional adapter. Maybe you're doing a 1440 and a 1480 combination there. So 1440 is emblem, 1480 would be slot 1. And then the PCI link is only applicable to like 1300 series VICs, because with that 1300 series VIC line, they used a special cruise ASIC, and each physical adapter had host port 1, host port 0, host port 1. So each physical adapter thought it was 2 adapters. Okay, so things were a little bit different with that 1300 series VIC, and you need to account for that, of course, if you're dealing with that hardware. But other than that, you're choosing the fabric you're putting on, and you must define the PCI order as we discussed. And you don't really want to do the simple placement option up here for 1300 series VICs with that dual bus, that dual PCI link bus. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the demonstration. Okay, let's move on with the demonstration for use case number 2. In this use case, remember, we're building a LAN connectivity policy using manual vNIC configuration, but with simple placement. So let's go ahead and create the policy. Filter down to server, and then LAN connectivity policy. And for an FI attached. And as we said previously, manual vNIC placement is the default. So we'll actually keep it for this use case, this demonstration. Also notice that you have this graphical vNIC editor. You can actually go in here and build the policy from a graphical standpoint. You can add the vNIC, add a slot, set the PCIe order. I don't really choose to build out this way, but I really like this capability. It's up to you whether you want to use it or not. I like to build things out traditionally, but then come in and see a graphical depiction of it. Really helpful if you're building a more complex LAN and SAN connectivity policy where you have maybe 2 adapters and you're doing load balancing or HA pairs across both adapters. It helps you see everything, especially when you're getting 6, 8, 10 vNICs, a couple VHBAs. So I really like this capability, and this is a very, very positive value add for Intersight managed mode of Intersight. You know, we didn't really have anything like this with UCS Manager or UCS Central. So let's go ahead and add our first vNIC. vNIC 0, and pick my pool. I'm going to use simple placement. Okay, so that means that the slot ID and the PCI link are automatically determined by the system. The slot ID, basically the adapter. So I'm using a single server with just an emblem, so it's automatically going to figure that out for me. I really don't have to concern myself with the slot. As far as the PCI link, remember that's just for that special 1300 series cruise adapter that has the dual PCI links per adapter. So basically you have 2 PCI lanes for each adapter. You could, in a multi-adapter scenario, you could be looking at 4 PCI lanes for PCIe orders. So that can be further complex, but that's our use case and scenario at the present here. Now, I am, of course, got to pick the switch ID, the fabric, but I also have to determine the PCI order here. Okay, so I'm going to leave that 0. I like my vNIC 0 to be 0 there. Let's go ahead and attach our policies. All right, and let's go ahead and click Add. And notice that we have the PCI order now showing up in the information here. So being that we had to manually set that, and the system did not automatically do it. So let's go ahead and add the counterpart to our HA pair. And this will be vNIC 1, and this will be on the opposite fabric, the B fabric. Again, simple placement. Okay, let's click Add. Now, I'm purposely doing something here. Notice I didn't touch the PCI order, so it's 0. Okay, it's going to default to 0. I'm gonna pretend I just blew over this. Okay, I didn't realize I was making a mistake here. So let me go ahead and add that. Notice both my PCI orders are 0. Let's just go ahead and create it. And some of you will know exactly what's going to happen. Maybe it's a learning tip for somebody. Okay, so let's go back to the server profile and add that in. There's my SP. Let me edit this guy. All right, network configuration. There's our use case 2. Okay, we've attached him by clicking Next. It's already saved. Okay, I could close and deploy from the server profile tab, right? But we have the deploy button right here. Not deploy changes. So let me go ahead and push this out. Okay, so let's go up to our active requests. See, it's popped in there. We'll select that. This will take, again, a minute and a half or so, so I will advance this fast. Okay, so we're not sitting here watching grass grow. Okay, so we have a failed deployment of the service profile. Not surprising. Okay, and it's telling us exactly what the problem is. Okay, we got this adapter and slot MLOM. You cannot have 2 vNICs, okay, with the same PCIe order, which was 0, vNIC 1 and vNIC 0. All right, so easy enough to fix, but I wanted everyone to see that. I am sure it's happened to more than one person out there. And if we go back to our policies, and let's go ahead and edit that policy. Okay, manual vNIC placement. I'm going to keep my vNIC 0 as PCI 0, but I'm going to edit the vNIC 1. I'm going to change that to 1. Click Update. All right, so this looks better. Click Update again. Click Save. All right, so now we can go back to that server profile. And we can deploy that server profile. Okay, once again, I'll speed this up. Okay, we can see that the validation for the LAN connectivity policy occurred. We Waiting on the deployment for the LAN connectivity policy. There it is. Okay, successfully deployed the LAN connectivity policy. And now just a few more moments here for the complete server profile to deploy. Okay, so we've got a complete deployment there. Let's go ahead and go up to servers. And then I'm going to go over to my filtered list here. I'm going to select that server that I just deployed to, go to the server profile, and then go to connectivity. And I can see that I have all my information for my LAN connectivity policy. Proper PCI order, proper placement, etc. Okay, so that completes our demonstration for use case number 2. Let's move on to use case number 3. Okay, in use case number 3, we'll be building a LAN connectivity policy and a SAN connectivity policy. We'll be using manual configuration for both with advanced placement. So just as a review, with manual, with advanced placement, we're dictating the PCI order, but also picking the slot ID and PCI link. So we're doing everything. The slot ID, of course, corresponds to the adapter in the server and blade. Okay, it starts with MLOM. So many of you will have just MLOM, but if you have a dual adapter set up in a blade, then you're going to be using MLOM with slot number 1. Okay. The PCI order should start with 0, and it is unique to the adapter. Okay, so if you have 2 adapters, you'll have 2 different PCI orders, one for each adapter. The only exception to this is the 1300 series VIC, the Cruise ASIC, in which case you have 2 PCI orders on a single physical adapter, and that's designated with host port 1, host port 0, host port 1. And of course, as we said, the PCI order must start with 0, and it's contiguous of numbering, so you have to increment. But then you have to honor that across your given LAN and SAN connectivity policy for a given adapter. So let's move on with the demonstration and build out these policies. Okay, moving on to the demonstration for use case number 3. Remember, we're going to build a LAN and a SAN connectivity policy using manual configuration with advanced placement, but we're still using just a single VIC 14425 on our compute node. So a single PCI order, in other words, okay, with this example. So let's go ahead and build our LAN connectivity policy first. And it's going to be FI attached, do manual vNIC placement. Select our Mac pool. We're going to do advanced placement. So my slot ID, in other words, I just have a single 14425 VIC. It's an MLOM. So not dealing with any Cruise adapter 1300 series, so that stays 0. I do want it on my A fabric. And for the PCI order, okay, because I'm working with a single adapter with a single PCI order, that both my vNICs and my VHBAs will be on that same PCI bus. For instance, I'm going to use a use case where I'm like booting to SAN. So perhaps I want my VHBAs to have priority and have them actually come alive first from a PCI order standpoint. So as such, I'm going to designate with my SAN connectivity policy as my VHBA 0 on the A fabric as being 0, my VHBA 1 on the B fabric as being 1, which means I am going to start off here with 2, okay, for vNIC 0. And you'll see this when it all comes together. So let's go ahead and go down to the policies I need to attach. Okay, so let's go ahead and add the complement, the HA pair. Advanced placement, slot would still be MLOM. This time it's B fabric, and PCI order for vNIC 0 was 2, so this will be 3. Okay, and I could build out more, but there's 2 vNICs right there, vNIC 0 and vNIC 1. Again, our PCI order has been buffered, has been pushed to 2 and 3 because I anticipate VHBA 0 being 0 PCI order and VHBA 1 as being 1. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and create this. Okay, so let's build our SAN connectivity policy. If I attached, we have to use manual placement because we did it with the vNICs, right? And this is all going to go on the same template. Let's pick our pool. And we're going to add our VHBAs. So this will be VHBA 0. Got to pick our PN pool. I like making them fabric specific for the PNs. And we're going to do advanced placement. So again, this will be MLOM. We only have a single adapter in the blade. It's going to go on the A side, A fabric, and the PCI order will in fact be 0. So let me add my fiber channel network policy. This is basically the vSAN. And click add. Okay, so let's add our HA pair complement on the B side, VHBA 1. And this is the B side, so I'm selecting my B fabric. And the PCI order will be 1 because we chose 0 for VHBA 0, so VHBA 1 will be PCI order 1. Okay, need to do my vSAN policy attachment, which is a fiber channel network. I have the vSAN policies being fabric specific. And click add. All right, VHBA 0 and 1. missed the slot ID there, so let's go ahead and edit that. No wonder. Okay, that looks right. And click Create. All right, so now we've created our LAN and our SAN connectivity policies. Let's go up here to our profile. Again, it's a standalone profile. Let me edit that guy. All right, let's attach our LAN connectivity policy. Let's attach our SAN connectivity policy. And let's click Deploy. And this will take a few minutes, so I'll go ahead and speed up the video here. Okay, it looks like we validated both our LAN and our SAN connectivity policies. And we're deploying them as part of the workflow. Okay, our server profile successfully deployed. Let's go to our servers tab here. I'm going to my filtered list. And we're going to go to a server profile, and we're going to go to connectivity. Okay, and we can see the LAN and the SAN connectivity policy settings have been pushed to the server. So we can see our PCI order 0 and 1 down here, and it picks up with for the VHBAs, and then it picks up as 2 and 3 for the vNICs. So this is really important, and this is where most mistakes are made. Just making sure everything is right. And with that, that completes the third use case. Let's move on to our fourth and final use case. All right, for our fourth and final use case, number 4, we're going to build a LAN connectivity policy and a SAN connectivity policy. We're going to use manual configuration for both with advanced placement, but we're going to place the vNICs and VHBAs on both adapters. We're going to kind of load balance across both adapters. We're going to use a B200M5, and we have a 1440 VIC in the MLOM slot, and we have a VIC 1480 in slot 1. Okay, so I've created a little matrix here. I did this a lot when I was in the field with services, and we'd have to go on site to do projects and ultimately build a deliverable for the customer. So I would use these types of matrices to spell out the different use cases of the vNIC, VHBA pairs, and PCI orders, placement, etc. So it's something nice to have on record for your setup. Notice that for VHBA 0 and VHBA 1, we're using PCI order 0 for both, okay, because we have a PCI order on the MLOM, but we also have a PCI order on the slot 1 VIC 1480. And I've dispersed them across the different fabrics, A and B, and then I've moved on to my vNICs. So again, I've dispersed the HA pairs really across the adapters. You got 2 adapters there, you might as well use them, and might as well treat that as part of your HA. So with that, let's go on to the demo. Okay, for use case number 4, let's go ahead and build our LAN connectivity policy. Select if I attach server, we're going to use manual configuration, add a vNIC, our first vNIC, vNIC 0. We're going to do advanced placement, and for this one it will be MLOM, switch ID will be A, PCI order, we're actually going to make this one because I'm going to have my VHBAs, VHBA 0, VHBA 1, occupy PCI order 0 on both adapters. Okay, so let's go ahead and attach our policies. And click Add. All right, so that's our first vNIC. We'll add our second. All right, this is the complement to vNIC 0 as far as HA pairs goes. We're going to go advanced placement, except we're going to put this guy over on slot 1 on the VIC 1480. And we're going to choose B for that. And the PCI order will be 1 because the vNIC 0 was 1 on the VIC 1440. This will be PCI order 1 on the VIC 1480. Okay, we're going to go ahead and add a couple more. This will be vNIC 2. Advanced placement. Okay, so we're back on MLOM for this guy. Switch will be, fabric will be A. PCI order will be 2. Click Add. All right, and then our final vNIC. Advanced placement. Slot ID will be 1. B fabric. PCI order will be 2. And click Add. Okay, so this is our layout for our vNICs, and we have them HA pairs separated across the 2 different adapters. We've got them split amongst the 2 different fabrics, and since we have 2 different adapters, we can use the same PCI order on each adapter without any conflicts. Okay, so to complement this, we'll go ahead and create this, and to complement this, we'll go ahead and move on and create our SAN connectivity policy. go ahead and create SAN. Now, I didn't create a matrix for this because we're only going to do 2 HBAs. Okay, manual placement, worldwide no-name pool. We're going to add a VHBA, our first VHBA 0. We're going to select the PN pool, A fabric, advanced placement. Slot ID will be MLOM. Switch ID 0 A, and PCI order is 0. And we're going to select our vSAN policy. And click Add. All right, so let's create the complement, VHBA 1. And that's our PN pool for the B fabric, advanced placement. This time we're going to put the VHBA B, VHBA 1 on the B fabric, but we're going to put it on slot ID 1. Okay, and we're going to keep the PCI order as 0 because we're on another adapter, the 1480. There's our vSAN. Okay, we're not using that. Okay, so let's click Add. All right, this looks good. And click Create. All right, so let's go up to our profile. And we can use a different server profile because we're using a different server. Let's edit this guy. All right, so let's add our LAN connectivity policy for use case 4 and our SAN connectivity policy for use case 4. All right, and let's go ahead and deploy that. And I'll speed this up. Okay, we're validating our LAN and SAN connectivity policies. They checked out, how we're deploying them. Okay, we've deployed our server profile. let's go to the servers. Let me go grab that. Let's go to UCS server profile and connectivity, and there we have all of our settings from our LAN and SAN connectivity policy, and you'll find this matches perfectly with the matrix that I put together. Okay, so with that, that completes our demonstration for use case number 4. Okay, as we close out this video, I want to leave you with some final thoughts. So the top row bullets there, adding VLANs, adding vSANs to your environment. It's a twofold operation. You need to be able to add those VLANs and vSANs on the fabric side, and you'll do that with your domain profile. And then, of course, introduce those on a vNIC, VHBA, per vNIC, per VHBA basis on your LAN and SAN connectivity policies. So it's a twofold thing, and it's just like what we used to do with UCS Manager. You had to add the VLANs, vSANs to the fabric, and then incorporate those with your policies in the service profile. So we do it differently, of course, different policies, but the methodology stays the same. As for static pin groups, it's a lesser used thing, but again, you need to be able to add it to your fabric in the domain profile, and then you can choose to leverage it on the server profile. Usually, folks that are doing this, they do it for deterministic traffic flows from the adapter through the IOM up through the uplink ports on the fabric interconnect. That's usually the use case. And this has been a long video, so I hope you've hung in there with me. For novice and experts alike, I hope you learned something. And I don't shy away from customers or questions, so if you do have additional questions, feel free to reach me out at mfiello@cisco.com. We'll get back with you. And thank you for your time. Take care.